everybody. I'm back with another video. This one is going to be a commentary one just because I wanted to talk about a game that I really like, and it's not Sims related, but it is a game that is very important to me, and I play a lot, Vampire the Masquerade. So as we all know, I mean, if you're a vampire fan or you're into that culture, the second one is coming out supposedly in October. That's the most recent release date they've given. They've given countless release dates for it, but I think October is the one that they've supposedly settled on. Apparently the game's done, so they're in beta supposedly they're testing it right now for bugs is what they say, but anyways, it's supposed to come out in October. Based on what I've been seeing, it's a very divisive, or what's the word? The community's already divided, I think, over it. Well, not really divided. I think most people think that it doesn't look that great. So just to get into Vampire, I guess if you're not familiar with the IP, the first game came out in 2004, I believe, and it was pretty early open world. I mean, around that time, I think open world was just kind of becoming a concept, I think, with Grand Theft Auto especially. You know, having Grand Theft Auto, I think 3 would have been around that time. But you saw the transition into games where it was becoming a little bit more open world, a little bit more reflective of, like, realistic role-playing games. So, like Oblivion, you had a lot of that coming out. So with Vampire the Masquerade, it was a PC game. I don't think it came to console in any form, not that I'm familiar with, but I know PC, it came to PC. The release for it, ironically, was very disastrous from what I've heard. It was a very buggy game upon release, and I think, honestly, for the time period, I think that they probably struggled a lot to fit in a lot of, like, because the game is I think it's ahead of its time. Like, Vampire the Masquerade, for the amount you can do in it, like, the storyline, the city that you're in, Santa Monica, for the time period, you know what, it's a very ambitious game, so I can understand it having a lot of bugs for the time. But anyways, aside from the bugs, regardless, people still enjoy it. And I know that it's been fixed over the years, so obviously the current state of the game is probably better than it was in 2004. Like, so I'm sure it's much more playable nowadays. But I think it's really important to focus on the fact that the first game, despite being buggy, despite having its problems, it still garnered an audience. It still garnered a cult following, let's say. It was still interesting enough to be remembered, right, fondly by a lot of people. I think what it did back then, you know, what it accomplished, as much as it was a buggy mess, I think it did try and be something big, you know, for that time, you know, something a little bit different. And you can definitely respect the devs for trying to do that at the time and trying to be fun. And you know what, and having a storyline too that's really compelling, that makes people want to play it, is very important too, because, you know, a lot of people say that games are more for gameplay, not necessarily storyline, but with Vampire, you can see that the story was just as important as the gameplay, which I think is very important, right? If you have a game that's got everything, right? Storyline, gameplay, you can have a very good classic game that people enjoy even years later. But yeah, with this new one, the trailers I've seen, and I've been keeping up for it a while, because this game has been in development hell for, God, I don't even know. I think the first I heard about it was maybe 2014. That's the last I've heard of it. Like, it might be a little earlier. I don't know. It was around that time period. But either way, it's been easily it's over 5 or 6 years, maybe more. I don't know. It's been a long time. I feel like a vampire. It's been ages, decades, for all I know. So yeah, keeping up with this game and seeing the course of its development, I can't say that I'm too impressed, because it's got the atmosphere. I think it started out with the atmosphere of the first game. But it was because it had the original developers, the original creators involved as well. Because I remember when it first came out, and you had the intro music from Rick. I can't pronounce his last name, but the guy from the original game who did the music. The music's great in the original game, if you ask me. It's very atmospheric. It's very gothic. So he came back and he did music for the new one. And the intro music was really good. I thought it was very, it captured the essence of the old intro music. But it did feel updated. So anyways, I thought it was very good. I was optimistic more in the beginning, I think, with the original creators, maybe. Because it was atmospherically a lot like the first game. It started out a lot like the first game. So I thought it was going into a good direction. I pre-ordered it, actually, at the time. I was very excited for it. I thought, with the original creators, I thought maybe it would be interesting, how they would update certain things. Maybe there's some things that they wanted to do decades ago that they couldn't do because of the fact that, the technology wasn't there. But, of course, when they were fired from the project, things seemed to go pretty south pretty quick. There was a delay, and I didn't know if it was coming out. Nobody really knew if it was coming out. There wasn't really any communication. And then, the new stuff that's coming out about it now, they seem to have the characters and everything set up, but it's not what it was. Like, it's not how it started out with the hopefulness. Because now it just seems like it's just like a Skyrim ripoff. Like a Skyrim ripoff with, like, Redfall. So, yeah. And then this is just weird concept of having it open world, but not having it where you can customize characters, it's a role-playing game, you know what I mean? It's like if you released Skyrim and told people, yeah, you're going to play as this one character, like his name's Bob, I don't know, Bob, you're going to play as this guy named Bob in Skyrim. Like, no, people are expecting an open world, they're expecting character customization that's not just androgynous characters. Like, you can have that. You can definitely have that. I'm not saying you can't have diversity. You can't have... Because, obviously, it's an open world. You're going to have that. Like, you want to have everybody included. You want to have a lot of different styles, a lot of different body shapes, a lot of different... a lot of different things you want to incorporate into character customization for a game of this, this magnitude. Any open world game in recent years nowadays should have that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it should have that. I'm sure we've progressed to that point where we can put it in. But I find it ironic that with this one, they're saying, oh, well, we want to make it more inclusive, we want to make this and that. But it's not really inclusive because you're still making it one character that, like, everybody has. So I gotta play this one character named Pyre, the worst name for a vampire I've ever heard. Sorry, but yeah, that's really bad. So I gotta play as this one character, and so yeah, it's just so basic, right? Like, obviously, the first game was more progressive that way because you could actually have different characters that you could play. You could customize your character based on how you wanted. Now you just have to play as one character, one skin, one person. And Pyre is an interesting character because she's an elder from what I've heard. So, I mean, it is interesting that you're playing as an elder. It's a different perspective. But at the same time, the character in the story, I'm very worried for the story. I think the story, because I played Swan Song, it was made by a different developer, to be fair. Like, it's not the same developer. But Swan Song was just... It was okay, but it's not, you can tell it was lacking. It was not what it could have been, right? Like that, and it's supposed to be kind of like it's not supposed to be Bloodlines 2, I understand that, but it just doesn't seem like modern day, they just can't get it right. I just don't think they can get it right? Because the first game, I think, is very much a product of its time, let's be honest, like, and with vampires, they're gonna be gritty. They're gonna be not, because what Vampire the Masquerade what the Masquerade is different levels of vampirism, right? So you have like the Nosferatu, who are very much consumed by their vampire, consumed by the beast, you know, that aspect of vampirism. They're not considered, you know, as human as like the Tremere, or like they're not as grounded in humanity as those categories of the vampires in the Masquerade in that series. So with the characters in the new game, from what I've seen, they try to make them like, they're making them too likable. Like, you have, because what the Vampire Masquerade is, what the game is supposed to be, is essentially you're trying to keep a hold on your humanity, right? Like, that's what the Masquerade is. You're not supposed to reveal too much about yourself, or you'll lack in the humanity required to survive, right? In the Masquerade, in the world of the secret vampire society with these hunters running around. You can't just be running around biting people. So, I mean, I can understand them wanting to have this struggle, right? Have these characters that are more good than, let's say, like the original characters who are a little bit more mean-spirited, but they're vampires. Like, they're gonna be mean-spirited, they're gonna be a little bit controversial, right? Like, you can't have a vampire story that's not controversial in some way, that goes against the status quo in some way, that, you know, like a character like Jeanette, like, with her, you know, you can look at her as just a sex symbol, but she's not just a sex symbol. It's not just about, and she's a vampire, right? She knows how to use her, like, herself in that way to get what she wants. She's a manipulative character. She's not supposed to be necessarily likable. She's supposed to be kind of this villain that has her likable qualities, that has her interesting qualities, let's say, because, spoiler alert, but she does suffer from multiple personality disorder. So, yeah, I mean, you can look at her as like, oh, she's just meant to be a sex symbol in the game. It's no, she has more personality than that. She's a villain. She's, you know, got this powerful status in this community. You know, she's influential that way. It's not just about her sexuality. So the devs of the current game, you know, saying, oh, the original game's so problematic, it's this and that, you know, we want to be more than that. Well, then why are we going back? So you want to be progressive, but you have a character you can't edit. You can only be this one character, so that's not really that progressive, because you're saying, oh, you can only be one thing in this game, whereas opposed to the original where you had variety. And then you're taking away the specialness, let's say, of the original, where you have these characters who are, you know, much more interesting and, you know, are more mean-spirited, yes, but they have their reasons, and they have, you know, in the context of the story, why they're that way. Sorry if I'm not too clear, but the point is that these characters aren't just sex symbols. They're not just supposed to be, like, problematic. They're supposed to be people that are going through a very difficult situation. Being a vampire is gonna make you not likable in some respects. Even the most likable vampires are gonna be, you know what I mean? They're monsters. They're not supposed to be likable necessarily. So I'm not very optimistic for this new game. I don't like the direction they're going in. I don't like how they're disrespecting the original fan base and basically saying that, oh, like, your views are outdated. Just because you like this game, you're outdated. I agree with that. But anyways, this was just briefly my opinion about it. And yeah, I don't think I will be pre-ordering this. I think I'm going to wait. From what I've seen in the trailers, it's kind of messy still with the gameplay. Like, the mouth movements aren't even really lined up with the the voice recordings. It's not good. So yeah, just kind of keep on your toes about this one, and just, yeah, it's a shame, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'll try and see, but I'm not optimistic. So yeah, try to have a good day, and if you're a fan like me, well, we still have the first one, so could be worse. But yeah, stay tuned and see ya.